Okay, clerk, can you take attendance?
Yes.
Take a roll call for the Personnel Committee.
Alderman Nichols? Here. Alderman Taylor? Alderman Taylor?
I said here.
Oh, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. Alderman Sevenick?
Here.
Alderman Langdon?
Here.
Alderman Kruger?
Here.
Alderman Tom Grady?
Here.
Alderman Ted Grady?
Here.
Alderman Rapella?
Here.
Mayor Merkus?
Here.
Thank you.
All right. I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the Personnel Committee dated 7/2 of 2018. Oh, gee, I wasn't watching the thing. Yep. Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to move that we approve the Personnel Committee minutes of 7/2 of 2018.
Second.
Second by Alderman Kruger. Any discussion? If not, voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. We got one action item for tonight. The bank sick leave policy revision. Director Jacobs, can you explain this for us?
I can explain this, and if there are any questions that go historical with this, I would ask that Attorney Captain chime in any bit that she would like to, because she was here for almost 10 years now, so I can explain for what I understand of this policy. You presently have a bank sick leave that actually kicks in after an employee has had probably like about 9 years worth of employment here. If you haven't used your sick leave, we have a conversion where there's an extra amount that goes over into what's called a bank sick leave, and that's the portion of this that we're looking at addressing in the employee handbook right now. Right now, the employees are allowed to use that bank sick leave upon retirement to apply towards their health insurance up until they're Medicare age eligible. But the caveat with that is that the funds stay with the city and that the city will continue to allow them to stay on the city's health insurance plan during the time the funds either run out before they get to Medicare age eligibility, or that, I lost my train of thought on that. Once the funds run out, or that they become age eligible, or that the funds are run out that before they get there. You've had a couple employees in the past that have retired too close to becoming Medicare age eligible, and then some of the funds actually revert back to the city because they didn't use all the funds up, and then they're able to then go ahead and utilize going on to Medicare instead for health insurance. So what we're looking at here is that there's been a request, and this will probably become more prevalent as employees retire going forward, that the retiree may not want to stay with the city's health insurance plan, but might want to go on to their spouse. They retire from the city, and their spouse is working, and that the employee might want to jump onto their spouse's insurance coverage while their spouse is still working. So we're looking at a proposed change to allow that accommodation so that the employee could choose to take that bank sick leave balance, which the city does fund 100% right now, as a benefit for the employee, and the banked funds then could be transferred over to a health reimbursement account, or right now we use it as call it a precision retirement account, or that it could go maybe to an account that's restricted for health insurance use that maybe they might use for shopping out on the exchange. So it could be like a single employee that maybe doesn't have a spouse. They could go out and shop out in exchange with the funds, but we keep it segregated for that specific use. So we're looking at making a recommendation to keep the policy in place for the funding mechanism to allow the retired employee to still have access to those funds, but to give them an option that they could go ahead and jump onto their spouse and have the funds then go into an HRA account or some other type of health insurance coverage account. It's restricted for that use. for future health insurance benefits. And what I gave you is one thing that we did want to make sure that we bring to your attention is I'd put on the last page of this packet just two different examples depending on the size of the balance, which, like I said before, the city has been funding this 100% in the past and would continue to do so. My first example there was that if the bank sick leave was accumulated to be at $10,000, and if they were within 15 months of becoming Medicare age eligible, and also assuming if it was employee spouse coverage for roughly costing about $1,000, that would be the equivalent of saying that that bank sick leave was the equivalent of roughly about 10 months worth of coverage. So if you take the 10,000 divided by the monthly cost of $1,000 a month, would be equivalent of about 10 months coverage. So what we're saying is that the employee would be eligible to take the full amount, could convert it, transfer it over to an HRA account or some other retirement account that we would allow them to do, and they could provide them coverage then if they were to use it on their spouse going forward for an employee spouse or for a single plan going forward for the full amount. My second example was more to point out where you've had a couple employees that left too close to becoming Medicare age eligible, and they could not use the full amount of the sick time balance. So this example showed that if the balance was about $20,000 and they were 15 months away from becoming Medicare age eligible, and that if that premium amount was still $1,000 a month, this instance would show that we would only, if the monies would stay with the city and we would keep it on the same policy that we've got it in the past, they only could get 15 months worth of funds eligible. After that, the remaining months of 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 would not be covered if they stayed on the city's plan. So we wanted to make sure if this proposal were to be allowed for a retiring employee, they only would be eligible to take up to 15 months worth of coverage. They wouldn't get to take the full amount with them, the full $20,000. So we would cap it off that we look to see how many months they are away from becoming Medicare age eligible, and that would be the maximum amount that they could take. It won't won't be coming up probably often in the future because a lot of the employees in certain classes of our employees might be retiring in their 50s, so they would obviously use up the balance. This might come into more play if you've got some employees that are continue to work well past a certain age and being might retire close up to becoming Medicare age eligible. So what I wanted to show you is that we would look to maximize the amount. So if they stayed on the city's existing program that we've got now, and they continue to carry the insurance through the city of Menasha, that we would look at the maximum amount that they could have here as an employee or a former employee but still stay on the city's plan. But if we would allow them to take a bank sick leave portion with them and put it into an HRA, which would be restricted for employee for health insurance premium use only, then we will look in. They wouldn't get anything more than that if they were to leave and take the funds with them. That we'd still provide them the exact same benefit at the exact same maximum level. They wouldn't be getting anything more or anything better if they were to take the monies with them. Because we would restrict it by the number of months up until they become Medicare age eligible, and looking at what the existing monthly premium is at the time that they leave and retire.
Mayor, you have a question?
I'd like to make a motion, if that's okay.
We have questions.
Okay.
Alderman Rapella?
Did I touch No. Okay. Just so I understand this, John, like the first example, they would end up actually being 5 months short of using their money. So they would have enough for 10 months, and they would be 15 months away from retirement or away from Medicare. So they kind of end up 5 months short.
Correct.
So that way would, by them using the public health insurance, the Obamacare, they could maybe find some less expensive insurance and then cover the 15 months.
Correct.
Okay.
Right now, this is the, example one is more the norm. Most
Okay.
people retire well before they get to Medicaid,
Gotcha.
Medicare age eligibility, so therefore they have to find another option for health insurance. I mean, you know, they,
Right.
some of the employees, you know,
No, I
can look
agree,
at
you
different
can never
options. So-
retire too early. Example number two, where they're 20 months coverage. In my mind, if they retire, if they're working too long, closer to 65, and they don't get to utilize that health insurance, that's the way, we're kind of forcing them to retire earlier, which I just said, you can never retire too early.
Well, we're
So,
not
well-
forcing them to do anything, because right
No,
now.
no, but if they want to get the correct bang for their buck, then they would time that out and figure out how much the 20 months is, and then make that their retirement date, so they would get the correct bang for their buck and utilize all the months.
We would assume that the employees are kind of, when they get ready and start talking with the Wisconsin Retirement System, they're kind of planning their course as
Sure.
all of us that are in public service, we probably have a magic date or are thinking along that line. So there's some planning that could be done here on this.
Okay.
But as time goes, as if you have, healthier employees, some of them might work right on up, and some of them just love to work. We do have a few employees in a couple departments that are working well past Medicare age eligibility, and we just love it. So we're fine with that, so.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you. Is this the same as sick leave payout?
There is a sick leave payout up to 720 hours that the employees can have now, that we call current sick leave, and anything over and above that then will be there's a conversion done, so they don't get to take anything over and above that. They can take up to 2/3 of that gets converted and gets placed into the bank sick leave. But it takes roughly an employee about 9 years before, and if they haven't used any sick days, before even an employee would be even eligible to even have a bank sick leave for this kind of program. So we do have a current sick leave that's done at payout at the time they retire. They do get that amount. There are a handful of employees that do have a bank sick leave that have been long-term employees and have not used sick leave for whatever reason. So this is only the portion of it that we're talking about on changing the policy right now to allow them to convert this and to allow this to carry to another option for them. Instead of staying on the city's plan, it's just another option.
I was wondering if we reinstated this, or have we had this for a very long time? Because I thought that after the steam utility debacle, that sick leave payout and banks were eliminated. They never were? Never?
No.
You have a
If I
little
may?
history? Someone got some history on that?
The ability to convert sick leave
Correct.
to, was it cash or just vacate? It was cash.
Yeah, you were able to convert days at the end of the year. Correct. You were able to convert days at the end of the year that were unused sick ones that would basically get paid out. That benefit, you are correct. That did disappear around the time of the steam plant issues.
Okay.
And that was changed to only allow conversion to vacation time, not either
Correct.
cash or vacation.
Which was also found to be not the best way to go about it because of the taxability issues. When you're keeping with health insurance premiums, it meets the IRS requirements better, in essence.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
I'll make the motion.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, is there
Be-
a move
being
to
that
make a
the-
motion?
Being that these are earned benefits, they're already earned, they're not new benefits, and that this is cost neutral to the city, I'll make a motion to recommend to the Common Council the bank sick leave policy revision.
Second by Alderman Kruger. Clerk, can we take a roll call for it? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Becky. Alderman Nichols?
Thank you. Would the funds go directly from the city into this health reimbursement account?
Right now, we work primarily with Precision on funds that would actually go. It's something that we probably would look at other if the employee were to absolutely have it for the spouse, we'd look at making sure that an account is set up so that the funds go and they be tax exempt, the transfer would be tax exempt for the employee, and that we want to make sure that it is restricted for just health insurance use. So we probably would need to, I don't know, Attorney Captain, if we could probably set up something in the policy that would say that we could work with the individual employee on those occasions. But this is going to be something that's going to come up very rare. I mean, we might have maybe one or two a year that this might come up, but at least it's another option that we're looking at, and we could probably work on the employee with their spouse and just saying what is the HRA account of your choice to make sure that we would transfer those funds into the appropriate account to make sure it's got restricted use on it.
And there is a, yes, I am concerned about the restricted use part. That these dollars go strictly for health insurance, sorry.
When you set up these accounts typically through a bank, they have restricted use already on them, so we would place the monies into those accounts account for the individual employee, and they already have a restricted use. You just can't just pull it out to just use it to purchase, some repair or something for the house. There are restricted uses already on them.
Okay.
And we can probably talk with a couple of our local, financial institutions here, especially if the individuals maybe are going to stay in the area. Maybe we look at, working and maybe setting some program up that this is where the monies are going to go to, just to make sure that we can ensure that the restricted use is there.
Okay, and then I'm just playing out different scenarios in my mind. If the spouse would get to Medicare age first,
Come on.
then what? Do those funds still get used for health insurance costs?
They probably could use it maybe for if they get to Medicare age eligible, probably some additional costs that they would probably have and incur, because even though you become Medicare age eligible, not everything is covered 100%. So there's probably can have some reimbursement purposes that they can maybe submit some things in to use up those funds, especially if they're getting that close to that age qualification.
Okay, and then there is the item number 2 that we haven't talked about yet, about 10% of employees not leaving the city's present health insurance coverage. Could you address that item, please?
When we discussed this with Cottingham Butler, our health insurance broker, they had asked us if we were to offer this program, our additional option for outgoing retiring employees. They wanted to make sure that you wouldn't have this whole huge slew or a large quantity of employees. Basically, if we would lose 10 or 12 employees all in a premium renewal year, that could do some interesting effect to what our quote back coming back, because the insurance companies, they do look at your number of employees from year to year to year. And if also we drop off 10, 12, 14 employees all at one time, and we do need to try to stay, I think, above 100 employees with our group right now. And I believe we're at like 111 or 112 full-time employees that are covered right now. And I think that does include our number of our retirees that are still on the plan. So if you were to lose more than 10 or 12, more than 10%, so that's roughly like 11 or 12 employees from one at renewal time, then that might be interesting. We would probably fall very close to the 100 or right under the 100 threshold. I don't foresee that this would be happening because we have over 100 full-time positions already on the city. We do have a number of employees that are still on the plan. So even over, but it was, the concern was only in 1 year's time. And I think if we make the transition right now, as long as we still have over 100 full-time employees with the city on our plan, and we are talking with bringing and melding our group in the future with the Menasha Utilities, and they have 40 full-time employees there. So there's a possibility that we should be just fine with that. Right now, I know we do not have 10 or 12 employees that are just looking at retiring in the next year.
What would be the effect, though, if current retirees who are on the city's health insurance plan decide to go this route?
At the end of 2018, we'll have 6 left. And then at the end of 2019, with our existing retirees, we'd have 2 left. So right there, we wouldn't be, if we'd offer this to the retirees that still are on our plan, we would only, if they all 6 of them decided to leave, that would be 6 leaving. And with the number of retirees that we have right now, we would be replacing them with other employees, so our net count that we lose of active employees wouldn't change. So I can't see that we would ever have a scenario where we lose more than 10% or the equivalent of 11 or 12 employees within a calendar year. But they just wanted to bring it to our attention, rightly so.
Could that happen over time, though? Could you would a 10% loss over the course of 5 or 10 years impact the pool enough to create a significant rate change?
If the city staffing remained what it is today, it's very unlikely we would ever fall into that, because we would still always have more than 100 full-time employees. So if you had, say 5, or say you had 10 that retired in 1 year, we still have to refill those positions with other people. And most likely those employees, new incoming employees, would take our health insurance coverage. They could opt to go with what are the chances that you have 10 leaving or 12 retiring in 1 year and then replacing it with 10 or 12 people that decide not to take our insurance? That would be the only case that would happen. I think the odds of that are very, very small.
The firefighters aren't in this.
And the firefighters are not part of this, no.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other further questions? We do have a motion and a second. With no further questions, take a roll call vote.
Motion carried on roll call 9-0.
Okay, with that, is there a motion and a second to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All there in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Broadcasts of the City of Menasha Administration Committee, Board of Public Works, and Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Menasha residents and interested parties can obtain information about these meetings and meeting agendas from the city website, www.cityofmenasha-wi.gov. Expression of opinions regarding City of Menasha issues or about these broadcasts can be made by contacting the mayor's office, 920-967-3600, contacting their city alderman. Contact information appears on the website. Completing the electronic feedback form on the website. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.